No one in this world can you trust. Not men, not women, not beasts. This you can trust.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Glory of Golden State Gaming. I'm your host, Swamp Swimmer, and with me as always, the Frodo to my Samwise, Vespacian.
Man, how have we not done that one before? Hey everybody, how you doing?
I feel like we might have done that, but it was on my list anyway, so it might be a repeat, whatever. Hey, you know, the new Saurian Ancient LAB book is in the process of dropping, and we had the luxury of doing a couple of the videos on the preview days before it drops, and the actual drop for the book will be in 3 days on the 1st of September. I think this is pretty exciting. We did a background review. If you're interested in our background review, I guess click the link right above Vespacian's head, and that was really fun. I really enjoyed doing that. But also, I mean, you've had a chance to look at the book, right?
Yeah.
Any overall thoughts that you're having? No, don't spoil any rules or anything, but just overall thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, in some ways, I've been a little surprised by the depth of design changes for the labs since VS. What I mean by that is that I remember a long time ago that the idea was that the Warriors, the Dark Gods, the Demons, and the VS were the most important labs to get done because that was really, really core, like, Games Workshop stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so they needed the biggest change. But then, you know, sort of seeing Dread Elves and now KOE and now the Saurians come out, each one of them has sort of surprised me with the amount of changes. Probably Dread Elves less so, but KOE and Saurians both pretty substantial, right? So you know, I'm impressed by the ambition of the Saurian lab. It's a book that I feel like was pretty stable and like relatively okay, and they've made a lot of changes to it. So I'm interested. I mean, it should be really fun for Saurian players and their opponents to try out all these new combos. But yeah, I think that would be my kind of like non-rule specific takeaway, I guess.
Yeah, I think, well, you make a good point. It's definitely the time and the process to swing for the fences as far as rules and really shake it up. And they did that. I think it still got the flavor. I think this book has the strongest connection to the actual background material as far as rules than any of the other LABs, which I think is super cool. Honestly, I can only speculate on the power level of this book, but for me, it feels like for the other books they really went strong rules and then toned it back to taste. I think this is the first LAB they really looked for, or were more stringent on themselves to find balance right off the bat, which actually I applaud them for. I'm not like complaining about, hey, my book's not as strong as their book, whatever. No, it's not that. I'm applauding them for, like, they were definitely I think the mindset before was throw out these cool new things and then tone it back to find the happy medium. And I think they realized that caused a lot of troubles, especially with the Infernal Dwarf book, and now it feels like this is like kind of coming right out of the gates. It's kind of a middle of the road book. It's not super strong. It's not weak. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. But also, as you said, it's new rules, so it could be. It's all speculation at this point.
Yeah. No, I'm impressed by it. I think, you know, like, for those who were fans of the old book, like, there's plenty there, lots of connection points.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. I think that they did a really nice job kind of with that new spin on the background, so it feels very unique. So yeah, looking forward to it. Should be you and I will have to get a game in.
I know. I've already been tinkering with lists, and there's some cool mechanics. Like, there's a lot of rules that synchronize well with other units in the book. Like, they have a lot of combo stuff, which I won't go deeply into, but I am exploring one of those avenues, and we'll see how it goes. But
Just one question: are you actually going to put a Saurian warrior model on the table?
No, 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 no. What are you doing now?
Okay, all right. All right.
And oh yeah, the skink blender lives. The skink blender lives. It will. We'll get there. We'll get there. Don't you worry.
All right, all right.
No, those are more fun lists. I'm still gonna try out the skink blender, but I've got some other more trying to be competitive lists that I'm looking at. But let's get on to the battle report. We are in round 4 of Silicon Hammer in San Jose, California. And we're on your round 4. Remind me where you're at a total for the tournament at this point.
I think I'm on. So at the end of day 1, I think it was in 37. So one draw, 1 small loss, and 1 big win.
It's not bad. It's not bad for a day 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get paired into our good friend from the Bay Area, James, who's playing VC.
Yeah, it's been a long time since James and I faced off across the table, so was looking forward to this. Although once you see the list, you'll be interested to see what you think.
Hey, if you are interested in Vespacian's VC or DL list, Demon Legion, click the link right above my head. It'll take you to the round 1 video where we go into his list in a little more detail. But right now, we're just going to skip on to James's VC list. We've got a count on the Nosferatu bloodline with blood magic on a colossal zombie dragon, master on occultism, paired weapons, necromantic staff, obsidian rock. That is a lot of points in one model. That is 1155 in a giant monster who's okay in combat. He's just the monsters, yeah. But he is a magic master. He's the winds of magic are a flowing with this guy. But let's see. He's got a vampire Gortir. He's the general with Dead Arise. Also Nosferatu, Evocation Master. He's on foot, right? Yeah, he's on foot with Great Weapon, Crown of Autocracy. Interesting choice. He's not strong in combat, right?
No, but this is a crazy magic setup, right? So triple snipe, obviously just tons of range damage and plenty of combat buffs.
So yeah, double master, triple combat, triple snipe.
Yeah.
Eesh. Then he's got 35 ghouls with the champion, 30 skeletons with the Legion standard, 2x8 direwolves, 2 bat swarms, 15 barrow guard, which is an interesting size for a barrow guard unit, 15 with an Aether icon, 10 race with a champion, and then 2x5 vampire knights with full command.
So I think if I've got it right, he's got 11 spells. Wraiths are also a covenant unit, right?
Oh yeah.
And the barrow guard, I think, is just kind of like mid tier, relatively tough.
Yeah, for only 205 points, it's a good call. My question is, where does he put his general on foot?
I think that I'll have to remember what he does here, but I think he's got it either in the skeletons or actually in the barrow guard as a mobile or potentially.
Interesting. We also have your little your thoughts on the battle, and you put it as a yellow. Explain that to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we both have really strong kind of blasty magic phases, and we also both heavily rely on a couple of big pieces to sort of make the army work. So it's a bit of a standoff, right? Like, I can't take, grave calls and, triple snipe every turn to my greater demons, and he can't take 4 spears a turn into the colossal zombie dragon, right? So it's a little bit of kind of like a magic blasty standoff, and I think that this will end up coming down to the scenario. So yeah,
true. Let's go back and review the scenario really quick. It was Dawn Assault, secure target, but also there were special rules on here, which I'm going to look up really quick.
I'm not remembering those, unfortunately.
Silicon tournament rules, round 4. Oh, this is the traffic jam. Before deployment starting with the player who chose, we choose select any one of your opponent's units that is not a character or war machine. That unit is deployed, is deployed and cannot be deployed normally. Is delayed and cannot be deployed normally. It arrives on the second turn. So basically, if you choose a unit of your opponent, it shows up with ambush that automatically shows up in turn 2.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think actually we captured what we did there in the deployment picture. So hopefully that is pretty clear. Yeah.
Let's just go to deployment. Pick one, deployment.
Yeah, so I think you can see, yeah, exactly. So I had him pulled back his ghouls. You can see them back on his back line there. And he actually held back my sirens, which I thought was an interesting choice given how mobile they are.
Yeah.
But I think what he was trying to watch out for, we talked a little bit about it afterwards. I think if I remember correctly, what he was trying to watch out for was that turn 1, like Vanguard chaff everything and just push, which I think is fair. Could be potentially, but anyways, I guess so. I did drop for first, left to right. I've got the 2 hoarder sticks bracketing the house with the blazing glory, the Pegasus behind the house, and then you've got one of the threshing engines, Apollo, there with his center on the hill. He's kind of propped up because it's a 3D hill. The big Myrmidon unit very centrally, Zeus behind the hill. The other threshing engine, Helios, then Hades, the courtesan, and then the 2 units of imps, the shooters. And we did secure target, if I recall correctly. I think it's out of frame, but I think I placed the one that I think I placed mine like deep in the bottom right.
Oh yeah, because this is Dawn Assault, so you could drop it in your denied corner. Yeah,
correct. And I think, and
then he did the same thing.
Remembering it,
as far as I can see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So basically diametric opposite. So my thinking there was with the 2 hoarder sticks, if he doesn't devote like fairly significant resources, I'm happy to run one of those over and sit on the objective, right? And I guess he was thinking something similar with his vampire knights over on the right hand side. So for his side, he's got his dogs there kind of pushed up. He's got his vampire knights. I'll go from my right to left. Yeah, dogs there, vampire knights. The big skeleton bunker, the little barrel guard unit, which I do believe has his vampire in there. The small unit of 2 bats. The other dog unit. I think that's a stack of vampire knights in the wraiths, kind of one in front of the other. Yeah. And then there's the big boy, the
I do really enjoy that he used the what's his face, what's his name, man, I forgot his name already. Nagash.
Totally appropriate representation of that model on the table.
Yeah,
like,
true.
Kill it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So then I think we go into my first turn.
Top of 1 move.
Yeah, so like relatively cautious. I'm conscious that he has a lot of. It actually may have been that I got that this is at the end of the turn that I was a little bit delayed with my capturing of this, but basically conscious that he has a lot of chaff, and so I didn't want to push up too far and kind of make myself susceptible to like multiple chaffing points and then getting countercharged. And then I was also, trying to cover the angles with my hoarder sticks. Kind of interesting. That Colossal Zombie Dragon is just not that good in combat. So I could see the mirrored scales hoarders actually with the smothering coils or whatever it's called, actually holding on to that guy for a long time, right? Because he just doesn't. His output in combat is not that great. So I kind of liked them sort of, pinning him down. I'll spoiler this. I think that I made an early mistake here. The Blazing Glory was over on the left-hand side, and I hit him behind the house. Couple of reasons that's sort of dumb. One, that guy the Graves Call guy can shoot through stuff, right, with his direct damage. So that was just, bad, like haven't played an Occultism Master in a little while. And 2, I think that, I could have used, like, there's literally nothing over on that side except for the zombie dragon, which the glory doesn't want to fight, right? So I think I probably should have started pulling that glory over more centrally to be more flexible.
Okay, I see that.
He was like a turn or two late for something later. So anyway, long story short, otherwise just kind of generally move forward. I like the Myrmidons the Succubi on the hill for a big threat range. And then in my phase, I basically focused on wiping out that dog unit on the right, which you can see. I think his hand is on it. He's pulled the last model.
Yeah, I think this is definitely after magic and shooting because that dog unit is just gone.
Yeah. So there you go. Happy to get a piece of chaff off early, not having an annoying one dog left to be healed up. So yeah,
and of course it's the champion. Yeah. All right, this is bottom of one movement.
Yeah, so not a lot has changed. My courtesan is keeping his vampire knights over on the right honest, so they can't really advance much. He brings, obviously the zombie dragon isn't really scared of much, so he brings him forward, but he does actually leave a longish charge for the hoarders there, but he essentially gets in range to start blasting the snot out of that left unit to prevent exactly what I was hoping to do, which is to just march across and get into that secure. And otherwise he doesn't really do a ton. He doesn't activate any of his chaff, which makes sense. I'm still fairly far off, and that's about it.
Okay, so easy bottom one.
Yeah. And if I recall correctly, you'll see in the next picture that he does exactly what I expected, which is blast the snot out of the left-hand order unit. Splatto. Yeah, so took a few wounds there. It looks like I took another wound. Oh no, that's the Greater Dominion. I think I might have taken one wound on one of the threshing engines, the Apollo threshing engine that's now on the hill. Mm-hmm. So what you can see here is I move up pretty aggressively with Hades, with the courtesan, because I'm happy to take that vampire knight fight, no problem. And I'm able to get him out of line of sight of the skeleton unit, so happy there. I put both the threshing engines up on the hill because I want that rerollable charge to keep basically everything in the center there zoned out. And I start moving my succubi up because I'm happy with the succubi into any of his infantry blocks. And so I'd like to start putting pressure on that caster there. Because he's the general, he's not just going to let that go down fast. And then you can see, I think a turn late, I bring the Blazing Glory back behind the hill. And
I see.
And I bring my sirens on to basically preserve them until I need the chaff. And I bring Zeus over because I want to keep him out of range of the zombie dragon and in range to start blasting at this stuff on the right hand side, like the vampire knights.
Yeah, especially these vampire knights. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, well, moving on to bottom of two.
Yeah, so what you can see here is he's countered. He brings the zombie dragon over just to finish off that depleted hoarder brick there. He has moved the vampire knights out of the courtesan's arc, and basically just trying to threaten for the objective. And he's played relatively cagey in the back. He brings his ghouls on. You can see that big brick up there.
Yeah, looks like they came on there.
Yeah, and then the one thing that he did that I was a little surprised by, and you'll see I react to it, is he brings the wraiths up with quite an aggressive move there, and I am actually in line of sight with both the hoarders and the threshing engines on the hill.
Oh, over here, these guys.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Correct. So I was actually quite interested by that, and I think, unfortunately, I missed several, one or two movement phases after this. I think two. So I'll explain what happens here. But basically, so he's made this move, and that's exactly what he does. He blows the crap out of that hoarder stick on the left-hand side over there. But critically, he leaves one alive, which, because it's now a single model actually does have the arc to wheel past Nagash and go into the flank of that Wraith unit there.
Oh, so he doesn't blast the whole unit.
He doesn't finish it, no.
No.
And then the other thing that that was basically what his magic phase was he was just putting damage into the hoarders. I think he might have done a wound to Hades as well. And then I'll tell you what I do in my next turn. I take that single hoarder and I believe both threshing engines and put them, all three of them, into that Wraith unit. And my thinking with the threshing engines is 2 shots at rerollable like 11s or 12s, I think they were, or 10s or 11s.
Yeah.
I was like, one of them will get in. It's almost a guarantee with that many dice to roll, right? And I do end up with Apollo getting in, which is great. And the other hoarder gets in. So I've now hit that Wraith unit in the flank and with a threshing engine, and all of my attacks are magical, obviously, right?
That helps.
That's kind of the ideal scenario, right? And then I think, so looking back, I did not do it, but I think looking back, I probably should have. I was considering putting the Succubi into that Vampire Knight unit, and my reasoning is he's really got no other charges. I could have positioned it so that he couldn't get the skeletons in because of the wheel, basically.
Yeah.
And I think eventually I win that grind with all my magic and everything. But I didn't do it, and I think it's kind of on the bubble. There's a few different reasons to do it or not, but I didn't, and I basically chose to hang back and just blast at those Vampire Knights. You can see that I've already taken one of them off because they started at 5.
Yeah. Well, let's look at the next pick here.
So I think this accelerates quite a bit. So
okay.
Go back one. Yeah, it's actually just 2, like it's like 1 full turn. So, but a lot happens. So from left to right, I wipe out that Wraith unit, and I need I think a 4 with the threshing engine to overrun out of the line of sight of that Vampire Knight unit that you can see up in the upper, right where your cursor is. Need a 4 on Swift Stride to get out of its line of sight. That threshing engine becomes a real nightmare for him if I'm over there, right?
Yeah.
I roll a 3,
no.
which allows him to domino Vampire Knight unit into the threshing engine and then into that hoarder that just had like 1 or 2 wounds left that was over there, right? He then brings his Colossal Zombie Dragon up to start threatening my center because, basically I've lost a lot of resources over on that left now. And then over on the right, if you go forward into the pick. Yeah. So what happens over here is I blast and I do a lot of damage to those Vampire Knights. I actually do too much damage, more than I thought. And there was a weird, we had a little bit of, I wouldn't call it an argument, let's call it a discussion, where he turned his Vampire Knights. I didn't think he actually had the room to stop in a legal position to do this, but he had already moved the models, so it was a little bit hard to kind of backtrack. But he, basically because I'd gotten him down to 2 Vampire Knights in front of Hades, he reformed them and turned and kind of articulated this very long wheel around my front, right? And that, with that move, he was able to get them. I thought that they were pinned where they were, but he was able to kind of get them out of arc. And this is another point where that Blazing Glory had been over 1 turn earlier, becomes a completely different ballgame on the right hand side.
Yeah.
And then he was able to, and this was part of why where the Vampire Knights was key, because he was able to by a millimeter get a single point-to-point touch on Hades with a charge from the ghouls that he needed an 8 or a 9, and he connected it.
Oh.
And so that's, obviously you don't like to get a poison unit into your courtesan, so that was not great. And then
but he's only got 1 row into you, so it's not at least for 1
but
round.
It's not his first turn. I'm never going to get through that unit. It's the follow-on turns where he has hatred and poison just kind of spinning up, right? So so that one was that was a tense little situation that didn't fall my way, a couple of different things, but just a little bit of more careful and kind of scenario planning from me, and I think I could have kind of gotten the best of all worlds, which is no ghoul charge, Vampire Knights pinned and dead, but didn't happen. In the center, he brings up his skeleton unit to chaff my succubi, where I made an aggressive move to kind of push into his bunker. And then what has happened is he, as I said, dominoed through the hoarders and the hoarder and the threshing engine in the upper left with his vampire knights, allowing him a free pivot to then charge into the failed charged Helios over there. So that was, ended up being that overrun roll for the threshing engine ended up having a huge impact on the left, obviously. But we've now ended up with a combat also with the colossal zombie dragon and that hoarder stick.
Yeah, that stick too.
Yeah, I won't bore you, but essentially that stick survives the entire game and brings that zombie dragon down to 1 wound.
Oh.
And he made a couple of armor saves in the last turn to keep it alive. So it was like that would have been
that's intense.
A huge swing at the bottom. Admittedly, he rolled it very poorly, so I don't want to take credit for that, but that stick did what I wanted it to do, which was pin that zombie dragon in place for basically the rest of the game. So I was happy with that. So now I think we're all caught up on what's happening. So now we can advance to the next one.
Yeah, this is top of 5.
Yeah, so he's now cleaned up left to right, he's now cleaned up both my threshing engines. I have to activate the sirens to keep that vampire knight unit from crashing into my imps and my center line or going into the back of my succubi, right?
Yeah.
Now you can see his ghoul unit is pushed over, is going after the courtesan there. So, you can see, I think I only have 1 or maybe no wounds on that courtesan. I did pay for chitinous scale, so I'm a 5/5 res 6 with that model, right?
But poison reroll
into poison,
yeah,
right? So it's quite good, but it's 5/5. And I think if I recall correctly, I maybe only have 1 more picture after this, but so he's moved over and now has plenty of attacks and doesn't do much this round, if I recall correctly. I bring the Blazing Gory over to chaff the Vampire Knights because I'm happy to take that combat.
Yeah.
And continue to shoot at them because I've just been basically those imps and Zeus have just been like blasting the snot
trying to kill them.
They have a 2-up, right? So it's not great, but enough wounds. Here's another pitch for the table service beer there. It's nice, nice
take a look.
And then I think the next picture is the last picture.
This is bottom 5. Last picture.
So again, left, right. There's the hoarder stick doing the Lord's work there. He's cleaning up my siren shaft. I finish off his skeleton brick, right? And
wow. That was fast.
So this is the end of the game, right?
Yeah.
So then in his turn, he's able to bring his guy out and doesn't fear the return charge. So that's his vampire, that lone model sitting out there.
Yeah.
And then in the combat with the ghouls, I did a lot of damage to them. They do 2 wounds to me in that first round, as I said, or across the first 2 combats. And then in the bottom of 6, he does exactly 4 wounds. I fail all of my armor saves.
Oh no.
And ward saves, and I lose the courtesan at the bottom of the game.
Oh
right?
no.
So this one was really disappointing, to be honest. There's something else that's conspicuously absent. Which is
there's no more tumor. Did you kill it with magic or did you kill it with the imp shooting?
The combination. It was just like every turn, everything, just like failed some saves basically. So that was the wrap there. I clearly don't get his secure. He doesn't get mine, and I got the Vampire Knights, the Wraiths, both unit of dogs, and the skeletons, right? So it's actually a pretty meaty amount of points in general. I think I also get half points on the CZD, right?
Yeah.
But he got both threshing engines, sirens, both were 1.5 hoarder sticks, and then by 1 wound the bloody courtesan in the bottom stick, right? So it
And
ends
that
up being
all
push on
calculates
point.
into a 10-10.
Yeah. Good game, very tactical game, well played by James, and a very, a little standoffish, but there was a lot of action, which was cool. Yeah, I was generally like pretty happy with how I played the colossal zombie dragon and kind of containing that model, which can be a real nightmare. Um, and then a couple little misplays over on the right hand side, made things a little bit tenser than I think they probably should have been for me. But yeah, so good game.
Awesome. It's a good game.
Yeah.
Cool. I think next battle report we will be doing my round 4.
Yep.
And hey, thanks for watching. If anyone's still watching, please like and subscribe. And we'll get back to it next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.